G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of SuperCoach Talk, and of course, the latest edition of Damo's Team Talk coming out of round 4. And I'll say from the outset, it was a very nice week, consecutive nice weeks now. It's back to back to back, so looking very, very good. As we always do here, before I delve into my team, let me flick across to the analytics in the background here so I can show you and update you all, and thank you, because we're making a little bit of progress here, as you can see, in terms of our subscriber number. And, well, it looks as though the subscriptions are going up, so I can't thank you enough for that. I think it was around about 64% from memory this time last week, and we're down now to 58% not subscribed, and of course the subscriber number has gone up. So again, if you can help us along the way, push down the non-subscriber number and go up in terms of our subscriber numbers so we can push a bit closer towards a 50-50 split. That would be absolutely fantastic. So again, thank you very much. And of course, if you haven't already rated us via the podcasting platforms that you're listening to us on, whether it be Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all those types, feel free to give us a rating. You don't really have to give us a review if you want to. If you want to give us a breakdown of how good we're going, that would be great as well. But yeah, let us know. But without further ado, let's go into our rundown of how we fared in round 4. And there we go. As you can see here, ladies and gents, I ended up scoring a 2,327, which was in the top 4% of scores for the round, which was very good. And as you can see here, season rank, again, split almost in half, as I have been doing over the past 3 weeks consecutively now. Split it in half almost again to now sit 2,557th overall, which is a very nice position to be in at this stage of the year so early on. So looking like we're in a good spot, and hopefully it can continue from here on out. Let's jump across into our team specifically, and as you can see here, ended up winning 8 of my 12 league matchups, which was handy. And yeah, I guess those 4 leagues that I ended up, or the matchups I ended up losing, were probably more to do with other teams that I saw having outrageous scores of like 2,400 and upwards. So credit to those people that have done so. And if you have done so yourself, let us know in the comments section below if you're watching us on YouTube, and as well hit us up on Twitter, as we have put out a tweet asking how you went. But here is my team. Haven't made any changes as yet. I'll just quickly run through my team, and just to summarize how I ended up in terms of my trades. I ended up trading Jordan, upgrading him to Flanders, which was, I guess, always the plan coming out of Flanders' buy, Ned Flanders'. Ended up trading Bilbo Baggins, aka Billings, to Dempsey, and ended up, I guess, downgrading Windsor to Darcy, which was kind of like a bit of an upgrade, I think, in my eyes. Windsor has shown that he just doesn't have the ceiling to really score those big scores and provide any value on field, first and foremost, but also Darcy looks to be the better cash cow longer term. So those were my 3 trades, and ended up getting, instant dividends from my trades. So Darcy ended up scoring, as you can see down here, if you're watching us on YouTube, an 84. And then Dempsey, that was part of the reason why I was targeting him as well, just because his scoring has been among the best of the cash cows thus far. Ended up scoring an 80 on field for us on debut. And then Flanders, you can see here, 125. And the guys that I traded out, just ever so quickly, just a rundown of how they scored. So James Jordan didn't go as well as what many people thought that were holding him, and especially against West Coast, only scored a 57. Billings, of course, I think he was actually not good either. A 54, again, went down actually 4.4k in price, so that was not a good venture to hold him. So thankfully I moved him on. And then rounding us out, as I said, Windsor, who to his credit actually scored half decently, I think, by his standards, a 61, which was his second highest score for the year, and went up 11k. But in comparison, of course, Dempsey scored an 80, so that's a nice little 19-point difference there. Because if we kept Windsor, I probably would have played him on field. But that's kind of the wrap-up of the trades and how they fared. But let's go into our team just ever so briefly and how they fared individually. So Tom Stewart, a big disappointment, 77. Probably wasn't allowed to play his usual game. Roaming across half back. Took, I think it was 5 marks, which is kind of below average for him. And yeah, wasn't really used as sort of the switch option as he normally is from week to week. So 77, not the best from him. And I think it was his lowest score for the year. Yes, it was. So yeah, a bit disappointing there. Harry Sheasel, again, going from strength to strength, and super happy that I started with this bloke. 124. Nicky Dacos actually surprised me. 102. I thought he might have had a bit of a stinker. By his standards, I know it is below par and below his average as well. But I mean, considering that he's being tagged by McGuinness, was probably up there with one of his better performances against the Hawks in recent times. Wanganeen Miller, again, this guy is my favourite to watch. I think he's so purposely built, I think, to play SuperCoach. I mean, he went up 19.7k. He was my trade-in from Young, so hopefully I can kind of break even a little bit here, but I do think that Wanganeen Miller will be pushing towards a top 6 to 8 sort of finish when it comes to average in defence. And yeah, he's been pretty consistent across the journey of 2024 thus far. And I talk about his scoring and I guess his style of play being conducive to SuperCoach. He had 11 marks and 27 disposals, 22 of which were kicks, which we absolutely love to see. So he hates to handball, which is fine by us. And yeah, ended up scoring 114. So super happy with him. D'Ambrosio, 63, probably below par, but still making us money, which is the main thing and the main reason why we've got him in as a bit of a playing cash cow. Went up 23.2k to now sit, having appreciated in price, 91.1k. So looking pretty good here, and he's in 62% of teams, so whatever he scores is going to impact 62% of the competition. So you're not kind of left high and dry if he has a bit of a stinker. So is what it is, and we'll hold him for at least another 2 to 3 weeks potentially. He faces North Melbourne in a couple of weeks, so hopefully he has a bit of a nice spike game there, but otherwise he's projected to make around about 30k over the next 3 weeks according to SuperCoach Plus, so it will be very good, and by that stage will have made us about 120, 130k, so we'll be ripe for the picking. Zach Williams at 81, which again, I think that was his highest score for the season thus far. Yes, it is, and ended up going up in price 27.6k and a total of 59.7k across 2024 to date. It has a projected price rise of 34.1k if you can score another 81 this weekend against the hapless Crows, who are kind of under the pump here, playing at Marvel as well. So it could be a nice game for Williams, albeit I think he did finished on the bench or thereabouts from memory very, very late in the game. I don't know if there's a niggle there. Hopefully there isn't, because we would love to keep him because his scoring's been very, very valuable as a playing cash cow. Ended up keeping hold of Howes. I know some people were trading him to Draper or to Tom Brown, not the Tom Brown of formerly of Channel 7 and AFL. But yeah, Howes went up 7.7k, 99.4k in total. So I think he is pretty much right for the picking here. Around about 100k mark. We'll round it up for him, an extra $600. But yeah, there is someone on the horizon from Gold Coast, from Closey, I think his name is, one of the debutants from today, and scored a ton on debut, so looked really good and is an option that would give you around about 121k from memory, because Closey is 102.4, so bottom priced rookie to look at very, very closely. So Howes may be on the outer, and I think it is probably a good time to trade him, but we'll delve into that a little bit later. Zach Reid, he was, of course, he's been ever so useful because had Howes on the bench with the emergency, playing first up. If Howes scored well, I would have put Reid on field instead of Williams. Given that Howes went shit, I left Williams on field, so he is being of use at the moment. Good old Zachary Reid. Moving on to the midfield, and Bontempelli had a spike game, or a standard game by his standards, really. 141, looked really, really good, and was the second highest scorer in my team against the Cats. I thought it might have been a bit more of a tussle, but he was able to score his highest score of 141 thus far for the year. Actually ended up losing 7.2k just because last week ended up scoring that 110 against West Coast. So I would have thought that he had the 141 game against West Coast, but is what it is. We're not complaining. And yep, he is an option. I can't believe he was actually traded by 0.7% of teams to go down now below 50% ownership. So yeah, interesting there. But nonetheless, happy with him. Tom Green, 109, was a little bit disappointing against Gold Coast. I think we had higher. I mean, his projection was around something ridiculous, like 160 odd. Didn't get anywhere near 109, but he's due for a bit of a down game because he started the season on fire. So he still went up 11.5k to now sit priced at 664.7k. But now is probably the time, if you want him, to hold off maybe a week or two and then jump on him if he drops in price, which he may, depending on if he can beat his break even this coming week of 134, which he may just do. Tookie Miller, a bit of a disappointing game as well for him on the other side of that game between Gold Coast and the Giants, 89, well below par for him. And he's someone that I think he's going to be very consistent enough anyway across the journey that he, very rarely is he going to have a sub 100 game. So it is what it is. And again, I think he's going to be high ownership as the season draws on. He's in 24% of teams at the moment. And I think he is someone that you need to jump on at some point in time. Nicky Martin, the man who was kind of the sliding doors that I may have got rid of this time 2 weeks ago, but had a stay of execution because he was playing the Saints. And of course, the Saints being conducive to high scores for opposition defenders and wingmen, which helped Martin, of course. And he did very well again on the weekend, 133 in round 4, and to butter up from the 136 the week prior against the Saints. So went up 35.8k, and his break-even now sits at a 35 with a projected change of 34.1k this coming weekend against the Dogs if he can reach that projected score of 110. So I know there's a lot of people out there kicking themselves for trading him out, but again, I was very close to doing so as well, and it kind of is a reminder to all of us that as long as the player has the role, which he has, you've got to back them in. And Hayden Young, again, taught us that lesson, had the role, and it was just, in both of the cases of these guys here, was their disposal efficiency was just way off, and both guys are known to be polished footballers. So we're kind of outlier games, and these games, I think, from Nick Martin should be the standard from here on out. So looking forward to keeping him, and he's a little bit of a pod now because his ownership dropped down from 26.2% to start the season to now sit at 15.7%. So, to get the big scores out of him might help me get a leg up over the rest of the competition. So, hopefully he can continue, and he will come in handy, of course, heading into round 7 when the DPP changes come in, and he will be getting that defensive midfielder DPP, so I can switch him back into defense and use that time to sort of upgrade D'Ambrosio and or Zach Williams. Moving on to Matt Roberts, started very, very slowly, but came home quite strong, finished with an 80, and again, just in line with what his scoring has been. Went up 49.8k, just a beautiful playing cash cow here. Projected to go up another, 50k at least over the next 3 rounds, although he does have the bye this week, keep in mind, but everyone's got him. He's in 50% of teams, so again, don't worry about trading him as yet. He's got so much money to make still, so don't even think about trading him out because it would be an absolute waste. Provided you have some nice rookies on the bench, which I imagine you will. But even if you have to play the likes of Clark and whatnot, don't stress. It's a best 18 week. Keep hold of him and don't even think about trading him. Colin McKerchott, 54, wasn't the best game from him, was his lowest score for the season, but again, I do think he does have that reliability in his game. Job security is 100%. He's an absolute lock to play week on week, and I think it was a bit of an off game for him. He was played a bit more in the midfield at various stages, a bit of a trial, so I think we might see him go back to defence this coming week, potentially against the Cats. But still went up 32.2k, and he's already made us nearly 100k already. So keep hold of him, and he will treat you well. The other nice scoring, or the highly rated junior, is Riley Sanders, of course, 82. Thankfully wasn't subbed. Went up 56.3k off the back of a score of 82. And he has gone up 108.1k thus far. Again, keep hold of him. He has a fair bit of coin to make us and should be pushing towards that 400k mark down the track. So looking really good. Jack Carroll, 66. Wasn't too bad. Again, kind of in line. He's been actually very, very consistent with his scoring with a 65, 74, 65 and a 66 thus far across the journey. And went up 45.6k on the weekend against Freo. So has gone up 106.5k thus far and has a break even of 1 heading into this round 5 game against the Crows with a projected price rise of 27.3k. So yeah, he's going to push towards that 150k appreciation as a cash cow, and yeah, is really, really good. Kind of kicking myself though, but because I had Jeremy Sharp on the bench and it was kind of a 50-50 call here. Again, rookie roulette, don't kick yourself too hard. It can go either way at any given week, and I was keen to play Sharp. Completely forgot, I will admit, I completely forgot to make the change, and at the time when I noticed the game had started and obviously was sitting down to watch the game, I was like, yeah, it is what it is, and you know, whatever happens, but obviously missed out on 60 points extra there, which would have pushed me into the, would have been pushing towards the 2-3 87 mark. So, yeah, in score. So, is what it is. And these things just come down to luck. And the matchup, I think, was pretty even for both Carlton and Freo. Moving on to Darcy Wilson on the bench, 58 went up in price to the tune of 21.8k with an overall appreciation of 56.2k. Goes into this coming weekend with a break-even 24, and again, should be pushing towards the 100k mark in due time. I think he will have spike games. Other games he'll kind of dip. Maybe a bit of a slower burn than what we thought, given his, performance across the preseason, but keep hold of him, and he's super handy with his forward midfielder DPP. Jai Clark, again, kind of regressed to that poor score that he started the season with. Again, though, must note, if you have a look here on YouTube, you'll be able to see his minutes, and he only played 75 minutes, which was only 1 minute more than what he was given in round 1 when he scored that 13. So the previous other games, he had 90 minutes against Adelaide, where he scored a 60, and an 88 against the Hawks the previous week for a score of 68. So I think, again, we can really blame that absolute pest of a coach in Chris Scott, albeit must be said that Clark still went up 30.7k. And has gone up 62.8k across the season to date, and goes into this coming weekend having a bit of a matchup, hopefully a bit easier, against North, with a break-even of 11. So should, you'd think, kickstart that cash generation, please, Chris Scott, give him a go, mate. Give him a go. Max Gorn, 129, going from strength to strength, and this was 100% Maxi. Not Maximilian, not the villain Gorn. It was the Maxi Gorn, and he went maximum. So a very nice score from him. Again, 129. Has an average of 130.6 across the season, and went up 23.6k again on the weekend. So his total price has gone up 83.1k, and could potentially go up, it says here, 43.2k facing the Lions in round 5, but with a projected score of 169. And I don't know why that is. Okay. So I think they factored in his last game against the Lions was in round 18, 2023, when he scored a 215. I can't even remember that. But yeah, they obviously factored that in. And who knows, he may score that again, but may have even faced Darcy Fort instead of McInerney then. But yeah, a bit of a mixed bag there for Gorney in his previous couple of games, because against Brisbane, because he obviously got that injury in round 1 last year for a score of 0. But if you don't have him, prioritise getting Gorney in 100%. He's had his bye now. So, he's some... Oh, sorry, he doesn't have his bye. He's got his bye in round 6. Who was I thinking of? But yeah, probably in that case, considering his break-even 75, he's going to go up in price again. So it comes up to you if you want to wait until after his bye, or you get him this week heading into his bye. He's already owned by 52.8% of the competition, so at least you know that over half the competition are going to be carrying him across his bye as well. So it's totally up to you what you want to do. But if you want to save a bit of coin and not have to fork out as much for Gorn after his bye, go for him now. Brody Grundy, 93. was okay, but looks as though he's kind of lacking in his ceiling that he's had in previous years. Even though he is the solo ruck, he's just not hitting those heights that we were hoping him to. So he's in 68.8% of the competition. Starting ownership was 73.4%, and you can just see by that. But people are starting to jump ship. I think a lot of people were waiting to see him towel up West Coast. Just didn't happen. Faces Gold Coast after his bye, of course, which is this week. So he is a prime candidate if you want to move him on this week. I mean, coming out of his bye, his break-even's 83. He could eclipse that and probably will based upon his average of 103.2. But yeah, in terms of how much more money he can make us, I don't know. I was bullish on him at the start of the year, but I don't think he's going to be that sort of playing cash cow that I was hoping him to be. Still gone up 25.8k. Been a nice sort of, I guess, placeholder for the time being, scoring well enough whilst, we kind of upgrade the rest of our team and wait for our cash cows to appreciate. So it's totally up to you if you want to, and it's something that I am factoring in definitely when it comes to trades heading into round 5. As you'll see here, Naismith was my captain, and my VC was Isaac Heaney, the Heen-Dog, 165, repaid the faith. This guy here, as we said in the potty, as I've said across the journey in previous iterations of the team talk, this guy is traditionally been a burn man for me, but he has rekindled the romance, must be said. We are as thick as thieves, as tight as anything, so he's treated me well across the journey, and again, just went next level. Smashed out his high score for the season with the 165 against West Coast, and another price rise, massive price rise of 47.4k. And he's gone up in total 154.7k. So he's virtually gone up as much as what, any cash cow, good cash cow, were hoping, to hit, I guess, those heights. So yeah, he's been absolutely incredible. And yeah, his break even now is even at 52. Of course, as the bye this week, you're not going to trade him out. Don't even think of it, because coming out of his bye, his fixture is just as favourable. I mean, West Coast was just the beginning. He's had Gold Coast, and then he's going to have Hawthorn. So those next 2 games, he could again go bananas. The first game at the SCG against the Suns, and then at the G against the Hawks. So the first game against the Suns has a break-even of 52, and with a projected score of 141 according to SuperCoach Plus, could go up another 40.9k. Ridiculous. So he's going to be right up there in terms of price with the likes of a Bontempelli, Gawn, English. Incredible. And this is, I think, the highest price point that Heaney's been at in his career. So just incredible. Took a little bit of a risk here, as you can see. Of course, Heaney played first, and the Tigs played second last. And as I pull up the fixture on the right-hand side here of screen for those of us watching it on YouTube. And of course, Naismith was an emergency, but it was still a risk. Grundy had already played. Heaney obviously had already played as well in the same game. And I had to take a little bit of a gamble here by putting the C on Naismith. And there were no other options. If Naismith was to be a late in, that would have absolutely skittled me for the week. Because, I wouldn't have been able to put the C on anyone really, apart from maybe Dacos. So that would have been an absolute disaster, and I would have missed out on Grundy's 93 on the bench. So counting my lucky stars there, and was kind of a little bit nervous heading in, or at least up to the Richmond St Kilda game, before I realised and heard news that there were no late ins. Thank you, SuperCoach gods. Rounding us out in the forward line, Jackson 91, again going from strength to strength. Word is that Hodor / Shrek / Sean Darcy could be back this week, but they are saying that it's going to be more of a 50-50 split, if anything, between Jackson and Darcy in the ruck. So Jackson still scored a 91. Super happy with him. Sam Flanders, as I said, he was my big recruit, boom recruit, went up 24.5k, and what a great time to get on him. Scored a 125, which was his second biggest score for the season, and has a break-even heading into round 5 against the Hawks of 89. And could go up another 16.2k according to SuperCoach Plus. Tom Powell had a little bit of a down game, and it's probably due it. I mean, he's a bit stewy due for a down game. He scored a 95, 129, and a 92 in his first 3 games. So, tougher competition against the Lions, who, had their way with the Roos. by and large. But Powell still went up 36.6k and has a break even of 70 heading into round 5 against the Cats. So I have no, worries about Powell at all, and I am quietly confident that he is going to be a keeper come the rest of the season. Harley Reid repaid the faith. I know there's a fair few people out there that traded him out, and they'd be kicking themselves because he ended up scoring a 91 against Sydney, which was his highest score of the year. Went up 31.9k and now has a break-even that's dropped to 12 this coming round against the Tigs, which might be an easier matchup because the Tigs have struggled, albeit they actually played quite well undermanned against the Saints. But at the moment, Harley Reid has gone up 66.8k and he's starting to sort of hit his straps, I think. So he's someone that you want to keep hold of as he sort of heads towards that 100k appreciation mark. Spoke of Ollie Dempsey as well. He went up 45.6k again. Instant, reward for me, taking the gamble, a calculated gamble, albeit I think, in trading Windsor across to Dempsey. Because again, this is one of the strategies that I've got for this season is identifying and jumping on those big cash cows, because I passed up a couple this time last year, and it hurt me because they went on to score well from week to week, and they ended up appreciating 150k plus, which meant that not having them, I had to sort of skimp and not be able to reach for the Uber Primos when I'm upgrading, and I had to sort of settle for a little bit less, which hurt me in the long run. So repaid the faith here, Ollie Dempsey, twice over with that appreciation in price, and also with a score of 80 on field. So again, that was the other big part of the reason I was jumping on him, was for that solid scoring in week to week, because these other guys here in Cadman and whatnot, and Wilson, they're not as reliable to play on field. Darcy is looking like he may. He was obviously my other trade-in option, and I'll get into him in a moment. But Dempsey, he's gone up 117k overall, and now has a break-even again in the negatives of negative 14, with a projected price rise again of 34.1k if he can score his projected score of 60. So again, he's going to be going up 100k plus this guy, potentially 150k. So he plays North this week as well, so he could hit the heights again. This guy's an absolute gun and a pleasure to watch as well. Rounding us out, so I'll segue because I've already spoken about him ever so briefly. Sam Darcy, he was the trade-in option as well, outside of Dempsey and Flanders, and looked really good. 84 on debut. 4 points more than Dempsey. Not kicking myself too much in playing Dempsey over Darcy, but again, looked really, really good. Went up 80.8k, if you don't mind. Of course, helped by that round 2 score, his first game of 109. So his break-even shoots down to negative 21 with a projected change, again, of 34.9k with a projected score of 55. So he's going to be easily pushing 150k, if not more. So for those people that don't have him, I would still say jump on him if you've missed him, because it's no different to me jumping on Dempsey in the round just gone. So I think this is the time to get on him. But if you don't get on Darcy now, the ship will have sailed. So get on him now if you don't have him. And he's already in 43.3% of teams. So he's going to be a very nice cash cow. And rounding us out is Aaron Cadman. Scored the 50, went up 46.4k, and his total price appreciation has now tipped over the juicy 100k mark to now sit 112.9k, and his break-even is still in negatives, negative 3, heading into the round 5 game against the Saints, and a projected price change of 25.5. Off the back of a projected score of 53. And that's pretty much my team as I fared heading into round 5 as well. So this is probably a good time to delve ever so quickly into my trades. And as you can see here, I've already used 3 of my boosts, which is totally fine. I'm totally fine with it. Let me just zoom in a bit further and see if that helps. Yep. So that's always the tactic that I've adopted from last year, carried across to this year. Use the boost. Don't worry about burning through them if it helps your team, which it has helped in terms of especially jumping on those big cash cows like Sharp, like Dempsey, and Darcy. And yeah, that's kind of going to keep me in good stead across upgrade season. So in terms of movements, let me just quickly optimize this. I don't like using the optimizer because it can stuff things up, but we'll do it for now. As you can see here, it's given us 2 emergencies. So what we're thinking of doing here is, okay, it's best 18 as well. So of course that's probably a given, but for those people that aren't aware, it would be an absolute beauty if Naismith comes in, but don't know if he will. But it is what it is. At this point in time, I mean, with Heaney being on the bye and with Roberts being on the bye in the midfield and in the forward line, it does mean that we can use them as, I guess, loophole options for guys off the bench. So that's the first thing I'll be adjusting here. And let's just go to the fixture on the right side of screen here on YouTube, as you can see it. So we have, outside of Roberts in the midfield, we'll do that first and foremost. We've got Wilson, Clark, Carroll, and Sharp. I think I'll always play Sanders and McCurchin. I'll just back them in. So in terms of the order of when they play, it looks as though Wilson plays first of those rookies, the first game on Saturday. So I would probably put the emergency on him. So we'll do that. And then the game after that is the Carlton Crows game, which obviously features Jack Carroll. So I'll probably back in Sharp off the back of his big score alone. So yeah, we'll obviously have to take a gamble here for one spot. And yeah, we can only use one spot to loop on a player. So I think Clark we kind of can't trust anyway, even though he is playing against North Melbourne. But we'd need to take a flyer on him because there's no way to get a look at his score off the bench. So yeah, I think we'll do this. We'll put the emergency on Darcy Wilson, and then check how he scores. If he scores well, I'll put Roberts on field instead of Carroll, and then lock in Wilson's score. Otherwise, end up going with Jack Carroll, I reckon. Outside of that, Heaney is another one as well, obviously in the forward line. Just going through who plays first out of these rookies of Dempsey, Darcy, and Cadman. We'll back in Harley Reid, considering he is highly owned. And that's the other thing to think of as well. If there are rookies as well that you're unsure of playing, look at their ownership. And if you do have SuperCoach Plus, you can see here leading into the round how many people are starting them on field and how many people are playing them on the bench. So yeah, I mean he's highly played Reid, so it kind of negates the risk a bit anyway if he is he was 90% played on the weekend, so negates the risk there. You're not missing out, or you're not going to be really hurt by any sort of lower scores. So we're going to go with Dempsey, Darcy, and Cadman. So who plays first? It is Darcy in the Friday night game against the Dons. So I think we'll put him on the bench, and we'll be able to sort of screen his score, or look at his score, and assess whether or not we loop on his score. Outside of that, there's Cadman, who plays the first game on Saturday. So, and then of course Dempsey plays in the second last game against North Melbourne. I reckon we'll back in Dempsey, considering he's playing North Melbourne. And yeah, we'll end up looping Darcy with the use of Heaney on the bye. Otherwise, we'll back in Aaron Cadman. So outside of that, let's go into our trades. Probably should have done the trades first, because no doubt there's going to be ramifications here in terms of DPP switches and whatnot. But I think what we're looking to do here, first up, and it's going to be a popular trade, which if I scroll down here on YouTube, you can see, and it is Blake Howes, the most traded out player in 15.6% of trades at the moment. And the big thing is, it's because his break-even now has skyrocketed up to 56, which is teetering around about what he's averaging at the moment, which is 59. So the likelihood of him eclipsing the break-even, you can do, but I think it's probably a 50-50 call here whether or not you think he's going to make any more cash. I don't think he's going to have another spike game. He's only had one massive game out of his 5 games he's played thus far, which was the 91 first up in round 0 against the Swans. Other scores have been 64, 68, 26 and a 46. We don't want him to have those down scores like he's had in the previous couple of weeks. So I think he has pretty much hit his limit. He's already made us 99.4k, and that's good enough for me. And what people are doing, and it's what I'm going to be doing as well, I think the most traded in player is Sam Closey, the Hills Hoist, I'm going to call him, nickname, the clothesline, in 30.9% of trades at the moment. So his break-even's negative 68, of course, only played the one game, has Closey, but he is someone I think he's shown his wares. He looked really good against the Giants with a score of 108. So I think we'll need to back him in, go early on him, because I guess the risk of keeping Howes and him having a low game, losing money, is probably a bit more likely compared to Closey being a disappointment. And I think that with that 108 first up in his price cycle, his first price cycle, as you can see here, if he scores even a 36 in the coming week against the Hawks, and then a 36 the week after, he's still going to go up 55.7k. And you'd think, even if he averages around about 50, maybe 60, he's going to be upwards of 80k plus at a guess in his first price rise. So he is someone you want to jump on, and it's no surprise people are jumping on him early, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. So Howes is my first trade out. Let's get him in. Let's do it according to Cash Cows here with the drop down box. Again, there's another option. You can sort of sideways now with Tom Brown. He's gone up 59.6k, has a negative 33 break even. And I mean, it's annoying because it was kind of a 50-50 call between whether or not you went for Tom Brown or you went for Draper from Freo. And it looks as though, if Tom Brown can score a 71 across his next 2 weeks, he's going to go up another 87k. And what's that going to give him? 100. He's going to be pushing 150k in price appreciation. So it's totally up to you what you want to do. I mean, you can go for Tom Brown first, and then if you've got a Zach Reed or a Gibcus, for example, you can trade them to Closey if you want to go down that route. It's something I'll need to think about. I'm not really big on using another boost in order to do it. Just considering that I've got enough good cash cows, I think, at the moment to help me out. And I think, as I said, with Zach Reed being there and using him as a loophole option from week to week is going to help me. So, yeah, I might be bypassing Tom Brown, but I can see the merit for it. There's other options as well. There's Mark Keane, but again, he's 339.5k. Not a fan of him. I know he scored pretty well thus far, but he's already gone up 49.8k. So if you haven't got him, just pass him up, because he could only go up maybe 50 to 80k at the most. And again, it's going to be hard to find the cash to trade. And I can't really, I guess, justify trading up to him because he's not going to go up a massive amount at this stage. All right, let's, where is he? Sort this by break even. Here he is, Closey. So with a negative 68 break even at the moment, very, very juicy. Let's bring him in, and we will complete this trade first up. And that gives us 222.3k in the bank. So that's a fair bit of money. At the moment, I don't want to be trading out any, I guess, cash cows or even playing cash cows that we've got at the moment, because they've all still got money to make. Like Dempsey, like if I just go to SuperCoach Plus here, flip around the cards here, and you can see in terms of break evens, there's so many guys that have negative break evens, low break evens, and they're just not worth trading as yet. And McKercher, I'm just going to back in. D'Ambrosio is probably one I could potentially move on, but he's in quite a few teams, 62% of teams. So again, I've kind of negating the risk by keeping him. If he has a low score, it is what it is. It is a nice way to sort of get a leg up on the competition if you wanted to trade him to a genuine primo. But I think in terms of my my stocks in defense, they're looking pretty good at the moment, and kind of want to concentrate on upgrading my midfield, because that's kind of where I see the value still at the moment. So let's have a look at our team. And I think, as I mentioned with Brody Grundy, I think he's a prime candidate to trade out. If he wasn't on the buy, I would probably consider keeping him. And there's a couple of options here for me. So first up, He's going to give me 730k. Obviously, his price combined with the money in the bank, and that can give me Tim English straight up, who's 691.9k. The thing with English is I think he still has a bit of money to drop. It might be a bit frugal here, but with a break-even of 154, I can see him dropping. And I just want to sort of have a bit of a gauge here because he's losing ruck time to Sam Darcy as well. So I'm a bit worried that it might put a dent in his ceiling scores. Of course, he would improve, be a massive improvement on Grundy, but I just want to sort of have a little bit of a think about him because he is projected to potentially lose another 20k or thereabouts over the next few weeks. So, but nonetheless, I think he is a really good option if you have the option to get him. And it takes the worries about out of things. And I think that's a set and forget. Once you bring English in, you've got Gawn. I reckon those are the top two rucks for the season. But the other option I'm looking at is switching Luke Jackson into the R2 position. And there's an option to get another forward. But having a look at the forwards, they're all pretty shit. So I don't want to touch any of these guys as yet. Speaking of which as well, I just want to touch on the fact that a lot of people went for Max King. He scored actually better than what I thought considering his performance. A 77, went up 49.1k, and could make another 30k or thereabouts. So good luck to those people that jumped on him. But again, it just goes back to that point that I always make of avoiding traditional key position forwards and key position defenders, of which he is the former. So we will need to, as I said, I could potentially as well switch a Dacos. First and foremost, if we switch Wilson into the forward line, it does allow us to now get a midfielder. We could switch Dacos into the midfield and then try and aim for, a big gun defender, which could be in the case of, say, Luke Ryan. Could go for him, could go for a Dan Houston. Both of those guys, I think, are prime candidates for sort of the top six defender positions. But again, I want to kind of keep my powder dry because I've already got Wangan and Miller in my team. And seeing Young bounce back for Freo, he still might sort of catapult into calculations towards the back end of the year if he does maintain his nice scoring and average. So I don't want to be going too hastily on these high-priced primos, especially considering that Ryan's has gone up 32.7k and his break-even now is 127, which is gettable, but I can see him dropping in price a little bit. And his price is overinflated by the fact that he has scored that 165 first up in round one. And that's part of the reason why he's gone up 32k thus far. And I think he will be able to drop down a little bit lower. So trying to sort of be a bit more frugal, bit more, penny pinching. Dan Houston is someone that I'd love to jump on and is right up there in terms of calculations, but he's dropped down 13.4k thus far. Hasn't hit his straps. That's the only thing, is that he hasn't had his ceiling scores. I think if these are his floor scores, like his lowest scores that he's going to have of 106, 105, 108, and 114, you'd take it every single day of the week. But we're looking for guys as well that can display those ceiling scores, which no doubt I think Houston will. But he's in actually 12% of teams, so he's a bit less than what I thought he would be. So compare it to Luke Ryan, he's in 12% of teams as well. And believe it or not, Wangan and Miller, who I've got and spoke of very, very highly, is in 16% of teams. So there we go. But those are two guys that I'd be looking at very closely. But I think we're going to keep Dacos in defence at the moment. And then I will be targeting a midfielder. Again, I could go for the highest of highs. Caleb Sarong, I spoke of this bloke, in the live team sheet announcement stream, and also last week's team talk, and I think we did in the podcast as well. But again, this kind of highlights what I've been saying. Sure, he blew it out of the blocks in the first 3 weeks of the season, went up 36.7k, and people were prioritising getting this bloke in. And I've said across the journey, try not to be blinded by the big scores early on, trying to chase points. Obviously, you're not, when you trade a player into your team, you're not getting those points that they've scored previously. So there's a lot of recency bias here that always, and I talk about it a lot, that creeps into SuperCoach. Go into the season with a strategy. Don't be blinded by jumping on these primos and ripping your team apart in order to get them in. Stick to your strategies like mine was, which was to bypass these guys. Be patient. They're going to have an off game. I spoke of it in the stream as well that Sarong, I think he had, was it 12? I think it might have been. Scores above 110 or something. And every other score was below that. So he was bound to have a down game, and did he ever against Carlton. Went down 7.3k. And when these big scores drop out of his 3-price cycle, he's going to drop even more, especially if he has another down game this week against a tough opponent in Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. So his break-even's 153 and could drop even more. So I'm not going to be going for him. Zach Merritt's burst out of the blocks and kind of defied the way that he started seasons in seasons gone. But again, I think I'll probably wait for him. Matty Rowell, he's scoring quite well, but I think I'll wait for him considering that he has gone up that much in price. Zach Butters, I think, is someone that I'd love to bring in. But if we're just looking in terms of value, look at the price point of all these guys here that I'm scrolling down. 651, 664, 668, 620, 697, 657. And then beneath this, coming in 7th spot of the 7th highest average of all midfielders, is 589.6k, Jack Steele. Sticks out like a sore thumb. I mean, he's bookended as well. Lockie Neal's below him, and he's priced at 623.2k. That just highlights the value that you're getting with Jack Steele. He should be priced around what these other guys are priced at 650 range. So to get Jack Steele in at 70k or thereabouts cheaper, compared to these other guys that he's averaging close to, I think is an absolute no-brainer. I'm now convinced he is going to be a top 8 averaging midfielder across this year and hitting the heights that he was of previous seasons in 2021 when he finished as the second highest scorer overall. As you can see here on screen, if you're watching us on YouTube, just absolutely banana scores, echoing, I guess, mirroring what he's scoring thus far. And even 2020 when he finished as the second highest scorer as well overall. Big scores, big high floor, big ceiling scores. So that's kind of what we're waiting for. I'm waiting to see for Jack Steele at full fitness, incredible. And the big part of his game, again, Liam and I talk about it so often, is his tackling. 6, 11, 7, and 10. And big disposal numbers as well. Like he had 33 disposals this round gone against Richmond. He had 29 against Essendon, 26 against Collingwood, and actually at his lowest in round 1, 25. So against the Cats. And yeah, absolutely incredible guy. And he's just going from strength to strength. So for me, I think he's a no-brainer. Despite the fact, yes, as you can see here, I've got 730k in the bank. I can go for anyone. You've got to be disciplined and you've got to go in with a plan. And again, going with value. If I was to go for Zach Butters now and then wait for Steele later on, Steele could reach the heights of 650k and go up another 70k. By that stage, it means that I'm going to have to fork out another 70k to get Steele into my team compared to if I get him now. So that 70k savings is going to help me down the line, and it's going to help me, as you can see here with the money I've got in the bank at the moment, 140.4k to put towards my next upgrade. So we're going to complete this trade as well. So out goes Grundy. Thank you for your service, kind sir. Bid you farewell. And in comes Jack Steele. The only thing I don't like about this trade is it leaves me a little bit open in terms of the forward line because Jackson's now in R2. And it does mean that I'm going to have to play an extra rookie in the forward line. So the priority is going to be switching Jackson back into the forward line ASAP. And to do that, I would need to upgrade a player to an English and then swing Jackson into the forward line again. However, the other train of thought is to potentially trade Jackson straight to English, which I could do at the moment as of as early as next round if I wanted to. But we're going to wait and see how Jackson performs with Darcy in the team. If things look like they're dire and Jackson's average is going to dip with Darcy in the team, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, that's kind of the thinking around that. The other ramification is Jack Steele obviously comes on field. It's a bit of a catch-22 because I get a genuine primo in Jack Steele, but it means that I have to bench a rookie. At this stage, it's probably not too bad considering it's best 18, but actually it might be too bad because if we project ahead, at the moment Matt Roberts would be on field, ahead of Jack Carroll, and my midfield would look like Bont, Green, Steele, Took Miller, Nick Martin, McKercher, Sanders, and Matt Roberts. And then, hopefully I can use a buy player to loop over the next couple of weeks. So round 6, looking forward to that. Actually, we wouldn't be able to. We'd have to play Matt Roberts straight out. And yeah, that's kind of the thinking behind that. So round 6 actually isn't too bad. I'll only have Gorn out. So I'm going to be well placed for that. And people won't have the cover to cover Gorn either. So it's going to be an interesting round 6, but I'm well placed now, at least across the remainder of the early buys. So that's a big tick. That is a massive tick. And then, of course, there's the regular buys later in the season, which will start to factor in over the coming couple of weeks as we head towards upgrade season. But that's not until, 7 rounds time, so or thereabouts. So that is pretty much it, ladies and gents, in terms of my team. Let's have a quick look in terms of what we're thinking for vice captain and captain. I am the captain now. And a reminder as well for those people that want to feature on our podcast and give you a rendition of I am the captain now. You can flick it through to us via Facebook Messenger, or you can do it likewise, I think on Twitter you might be able to, or you can email us at supercoachedge at gmail.com. I think, sorry, it's AFL SuperCoach Edge at gmail.com. Did I say that? I've said it now. So send that through to us and we will feature you on the podcast. But let's have a quick look at the round to come. So we'll just have a look at SuperCoach Plus ever so quickly. And what we will be doing this stage, I think Tom Green is probably a no-brainer here. I could go for Tom Green or I could go for Jack Steele, but I think we will back in Green. Actually, what we will do, I think his Bont is probably going to be a popular combination here, considering the Heen-Dog is on his bye, kicking up his feet, sipping pina coladas. Bont plays on Friday night, and Green plays on the first game on Saturday. So, yeah, that's probably the thinking behind this. And, it'll be Bont into Tommy Green. So, well placed. And I guess aside from this trade, what it has changed is, considering I've got Jack Steele in the midfield now, it does mean that we don't have Wilson in the midfield. He's in the forward line at the moment. So those bench loophole options we do have as follows. So Sharp plays the third last game. Carroll plays the sort of middle fixtured game against the Crows on Saturday evening. So we might bench Carroll, put the emergency on Carroll. If Carroll goes bananas, we will put Roberts on field to loop his score on. Otherwise, we'll play Jeremy Sharp. I think that will be the train of thought. And then for the forward line, using Heaney, of course, as that loophole option. I think it's the same here. Oh, no. So Darcy Wilson plays the same time as Cadman. So we're going to have to choose as to which of these guys we want to sort of loop, if we can. Actually, no, sorry. What am I saying? Sam Darcy plays first up on Friday night against the Dons. So Darcy still applies, and then use Heaney as that buy player to loop on Darcy's score on field. And then we'll just need to sort of guess as to who we bench out of Cadman and Wilson. We could do either or. Let's just have a quick look at defense v position over at DFS Australia, and we'll wrap up this video. Okay, so St Kilda against the Giants. So St Kilda give away a fair few points, as we know, to defenders. Just ask Nick Martin. But doesn't really help us with Cadman. For forwards, they don't give away too many points to opposition forwards. And the Giants, they give away sort of less points to wingers / defenders. So it's not conducive, and it's probably the more restrictive to wingers defenders are the Giants. So I might go for Cadman potentially in this case, but I do like what I see from considering the Saints. They do have a pretty strong defense, so I might have to flip a coin here. So we'll wait and see. Come the round once it commences. But that's pretty much it, ladies and gents. Hopefully you enjoy another team talk here. And again, if you have any comments and questions, let us know in the comment section down below on YouTube here if you're watching us. And if you are listening to us, of course, you can slot into our DMs, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, the like, and we will be happy to help. To round us out, if you're watching us for the first time and you have enjoyed our content, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe, and we'll give you a handshake, pat on the head, pat on the back, and a bit of a nice old cuddle of love, of SuperCoach love. So thank you again for tuning in, and all the very best for the round to come, of course. Don't forget to tune in to our weekly vodcast, of course. And hopefully you had a very nice round coming out of round 5. And with that, we'll catch you in the main podcast. We'll see you then.